Maranatha, everyone. So glad that you could join us for this new live edition of Calvary Solid Ground's Prophecy Update. And we're so glad. I've already seen in the chat, we've got a lot of people joining us today. We want to say hello to you all, and we'll see how we get through this update and maybe do a little Q&A at the end. We'll just see how it goes. We'll play it by ear. But this is how we plan on doing our prophecy updates moving forward. Also going to be looking forward to having guests like next Friday. We'll have Kurt Reed here live in the studio, but we're also learning how to remote people in. And I've gotten promises from all the people that we know and love to come and join us. So pray about it as we continue to do all this. But in the meantime, we're just going to keep, plugging along. And just want to remind all of you that this Saturday, not this Saturday, I mean a Saturday from a week from Saturday, we'll be having our prophecy conference, our summer prophecy conference with Lee Brainerd and Kurt Reed, and Vindog will be with us too. If you didn't get the opportunity to watch my show with him yesterday, we talked about a few things, and we're going to have a great time this coming Saturday. Now, if you're not in our area, don't worry about it. Just subscribe to our YouTube channel or Facebook page or our Rumble channel. We'll be able to, or even on our app, through our app, the web browser will be available. So come on out, join us, make sure you can. Of course, all the episodes will be archived if you find yourself having to do something and you can't join us. But as always, we want to make sure that every time we get and every opportunity we get, we advertise our emergency guide, because what we leave behind does matter. And my message at the conference is going to be kind of centered around that and why we should care about those left behind. So we have the guide right here. We also have these little tracks. And so all of that's available online, but we also took the time to make a cool little commercial.
Because you have kept my command to persevere, I also will keep you from the hour of trial which shall come upon the whole world, to test those who dwell on the earth. Revelation 3:10. We will be rescued, but what can we do to help the people left behind? What you leave behind matters. The emergency guide is a lifeline for those who will be left behind. It is a guide to salvation meant to replace us and be a companion to the Bible. It's a long way from Genesis to John. The emergency guide was prayerfully created as a labor of love by Calvary Solid Ground. calvarysolidground.com/emergency guide. Order a copy or download and print your own. Also check out our Ready or Not tract, available to print, and it's digital, so scan the QR code and please share it today.
So there you go. That's our little commercial. And always want to thank people like Vindog that's been helping promote it. We want to try to get as many of these out before we get raptured, because they really are going to need it. And the time is getting short, as we will see today. And again, of course, we want to remind you all that we do a live Monday Bible study here in the office, live on YouTube at 12 p.m. For those that want to join us here, they can, or you can watch us on YouTube and now Facebook. We'll be streaming on Facebook. And so those are the things that happen. So come on and join us. So today's prophecy update, I entitled "The Last Days Are Here." The last days are here. I can't stress that enough. They aren't coming, they are here. And it's interesting because it shouldn't surprise us that the world is checked out, because Jesus told us in Luke 17:27 that they ate, they drank, they married wives, and they were given in marriage until the day that Noah entered the ark and the flood came and destroyed them all. Business as usual. It's not that Noah's building this giant ark that everybody could see, and he's warning people of the judgment to come, And they just laughed at him and kept going along their wicked ways, not thinking that, thinking they had forever. And then he would go on to say in verses 28 and 29, likewise, as it was also in the days of Lot. They ate, they drank, they bought, they sold, they planted, they built. But on the day that Lot went out of Sodom, it rained fire and brimstone from heaven and destroyed them all. And of course, the picture is very clear that Lot had to be removed before the judgment could come. You and I have to be removed before the judgment and the wrath of God is poured out. The picture's there, but without getting into details of all of Luke 17 here, what Jesus was saying and how we interpret it, the one thing, though, that sticks out was the warning for you and I to hear. And what was that? Verse 32, when he said, remember Lot's wife. Remember Lot's wife. Lot, what'd she do? She looked back. And the idea there isn't that she looked back just because she was curious. She looked back because she was longing for Sodom. She was longing for that place. She was more concerned about her life in Sodom than she was escaping the wrath that was coming. And the whole world today is completely checked out. The church is completely checked out. But it's obvious that we are living in the last days from just the way that we try to deal with the news. Now, there's a lot going on. We want to bring up the fact that the war in Iran keeps going, but it's ratcheting up a lot. Trump says there's horrifying Iran murals showing the coffin for the president, his wife, and all 5 kids. And it's pretty evil, if you want to say the least. Horrifying billboards are on display in Iran's capital depicting American flag draped coffins for the president, while First Lady Melania Trump and each of the 5 Trump children, while Iranians up their disturbing "We killed Trump" threats amid a new series of U.S. strikes. It is just amazing to me to see posts like this from Iran that has, in Hebrew, it shows, the White House in flames and coffins and this one has all the different leaders and different people that they are wanting to kill. And they are serious. They are serious about it. And then, of course, we will kill Trump. And look at all the people carrying that sign. They're serious about it. They are literally, they are either going to die, they're either going to win the war or they're going to die in the process. That's how these people are geared. And we know that it's all coming to a head soon. But we also see this story here. It says Iran orders Houthis to close Red Sea if U.S. hits Iranian power grid. Now, United States keeps threatening to bomb the bridges and all the power stations. I know Iran just recently said they're rationing power out to people. And also we did hit a bridge, I think, last night. But again, this is not going to go away. It's just going to continue to go up. Now, some of the things that we learned from this article, it says that Iran has instructed Yemen's Houthi movement to prepare to disrupt shipping through the Bab el-Mandeb Strait if the United States attacks Iranian power infrastructure, according to a report by Reuters on Thursday. So they are threatening. There's a little strait down there by the Houthis, and then the Strait of Hormuz. And now they remember all the problems that we had before with that little strait through the Suez Canal. They are threatening to shut that one down too. The sources cited in the report did not say precisely when or how the message was delivered. Iran's foreign ministry and a Houthi spokesman did not immediately respond to requests for comment. And there has been no public confirmation of the order from either Tehran or the Yemeni group. A source close to the Houthis said that the movement has already positioned missiles, drones in areas overlooking this strait that's down by the Gulf of Aden and was awaiting instructions to begin attacking shipping. What gets me is we spent, 2 or 3 weeks bombing the Houthis. Israel has had multiple campaigns and nothing seems to work. But, if you really think these people are going to make a deal, just watch this video from one of the people from Iran and ask yourself if they really are going to make a deal.
The criminal United States continues its lawlessness and its efforts to destabilize the region. First, we once again stress that under no circumstances and in no way will we allow the United States, as a foreign and extra-regional country, to interfere in the Strait of Hormuz. This is Iran's inviolable red line. If the recent threats by the empty-headed President of the United States to target the infrastructure of the Islamic Republic of Iran are carried out by that country's invading military, then everything that has so far remained intact due to Iran's restraint, namely all infrastructure across the region, will be smashed by the iron blows of the powerful armed forces of the Islamic Republic of Iran, leaving no trace behind, as though it had never existed.
It's kind of comical when you think about it. I mean, they are definitely delusional if they think they got that much power, but they really believe that Allah's on their side and that they are going to win this thing. We know that eventually Iran's going to gather together with Russia and Turkey and other countries, and they're going to attack Israel and with missiles. And so no matter what happens with Iran in the short term, we know ultimately there's still going to be a regime that hates Israel that will eventually try to destroy her when God steps in. So that just shows you how close we are. But this other story that Patrick Wood pointed out, it's Iraq's Al Fal Grand Port to be the largest facility in the Mideast. Now, when we start seeing stories like this, we know that that the Persian Gulf and the Middle East are playing a very important role in world commerce. And it shouldn't surprise us that Iraq has been a very focal point in all this. The world is shifting back to the Middle East, and it's supposed to, because Bible prophecy unfolds in the Middle East. It doesn't unfold in New York City. It doesn't unfold in Beijing, China. It doesn't unfold, down in Brazil. It unfolds in the Middle East. So when all of the world's focus is on Israel and the Middle East, then that tells us that we are in the last days. It says here that the face of the Middle East is changing. The Al Fal Grand Port in Iraq connects to Development Road, a direct competitor to the IMEC corridor linking Turkey and Europe. The new leader of Iraq, might as well call him the king of Babylon, right? Is a businessman who is compared to Trump as the Trump of the Middle East. Al-Zaidi just visited Washington to herald a broader framework for an economic partnership that would replace the old militaristic U.S.-Iraq relationship. And so that's what Patrick Wood had to say about this article. But the article goes on to say, Iraq is anticipated to issue a new international tender for the construction of additional piers at the Al Fal Grand Port located in the southern province of Basra after the successful completion of the port's essential infrastructure phases. The Iraq Ministry of Transport has invited prominent international maritime infrastructure companies to take on the development of the remaining facilities at the port, according to the British magazine Middle East Economic Digest. Under a $2.5 billion deal, Daewoo E&C of South Korea has completed the 5 major piers of the port. The first phase of the project consists of 5 piers, which have been completely finished, a 62-kilometer road that connects the Al Fal Grand Port to Qasr Port City, a submerged tunnel, a ship canal, and a container yard, according to the Iraqi news agency. The submerged tunnel is made up of 10 parts that total 2,444 meters in length, 1,226 meters of which are underwater. Amazing. Located in the Khor Abdallah Channel near the mouth of the Shat al-Arab, the port's 5 container shipping berths have been constructed by Daewoo E&C, can each hold ships up to 23,000 20-foot equivalent units, TEU. So it's a big port. It is a very big port. And that road that you can see in this map that shows it going where it's going from there to Baghdad and then up, it goes right through the region of Babylon. The region of Babylon. Now, here's a picture of the port itself from the sky, and it is humongous. And it is ready to start bringing in traffic. And you know, the longer that we wait to get to the tribulation period, the more that we're going to start seeing Babylon being built and becoming a focus of the world. And again, we just saw 2 days ago, Trump touts tremendous chemistry with new Iraqi Prime Minister al-Zadi during White House visit. So if you're unfamiliar with this guy, he says that he has tremendous chemistry with him. President Trump gave Iraq's new prime minister a effusive welcome at the White House on Tuesday, promoting the tremendous chemistry between him and a fellow wealthy businessman who arrived at the seat of governmental power without any prior political experience. Al-Zadi emerged as a consensus candidate in Iraq after months of deadlock over the premiership following last year's parliamentary elections. Trump endorsed al-Zadi for the job after he threatened to cut off U.S. support for Iraq if another candidate became the country's next prime minister. Oh, you know, we don't mess around with other countries' elections, do we? Yeah, it just depends on who's in power at the time. It says, "Mark my words, I knew what I was doing," Trump said in the Oval Office as he sat alongside al-Zadi for his first visit outside Iraq as prime minister. "This man is going to be a great leader in the Middle East beyond Iraq. His influence is going to spread throughout the Middle East." And of course, he's thinking of the Abraham Accords and all of these things that he's trying to push. Iraq's dominant parliamentary bloc, called the Coordination Framework, a coalition of Shiite parties aligned with Iran, initially said it would back former Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki, whom the Trump administration viewed as too close to Tehran. Trump, a Republican, got personally involved, threatening to block support if al-Maliki returned to power. Since al-Zadi's former installation as prime minister designate in April, the Trump administration has kept up its outreach to ensure the U.S. can weigh significant sway in Iraq, particularly in extricating the Iranian influence that is deeply entrenched inside the country. Now, you need to understand the way that Iraq's government has been set up, and of course that happened during the Bush era and into the Obama era. They have a legislator, and that's what the citizens vote in national elections to elect members of the 329th seat Council of Representatives for 4-year terms. The president, the newly elected COR, these 329 people in their seats, they elect the president of Iraq by a 2/3 majority. By constitution tradition, the president is typically an ethnic Kurd. Now, the prime minister, the president then charges the nominee from the largest parliamentary bloc, whoever, just like parliamentary, the largest bloc that got the most seats, with forming the Council of Ministers. By tradition, the prime minister, who holds the most executive power, is a Shia Arab. So, you know, they make sure that they balance it out. That's what they're trying to do. The cabinet approval, the prime minister selects the cabinet ministers, who must then be approved by the majority vote of the COR. So again, it says, note, in April of 2026, Iraq's parliament selected Nizar Ahmadi as the largely ceremonial president, who subsequently nominated Ali Al-Zadi as the prime minister designate. So a lot of this, they have a lot of power, but it's more of, the president is just in a parliamentary system. The president isn't like our president. They don't hold executive powers like we do in this country. So we need to be aware of that. But again, here's Trump and this guy. You might as well call him the king of Babylon.
We're going to have a long-term relationship with a man that will be a great leader. You mark my words. I knew what I was doing. This man is going to be a great leader in the Middle East, beyond Iraq.
So there you go. He mark my words. That's what he says. But this is what he also had to say.
They have done a fantastic job over the last very short period of time. But they have a great leader, the new prime minister. He's a great leader. I think he's going to be there for a long period of time. And it's great to have you at the White House. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
And he's a young man. He's young and he's handsome, which I don't like. I'm not happy about it.
So you see, it's just very interesting. Trump, and of course we know Trump calls all the world leaders that come in there great guys. He said that about the president of Syria, which, everybody knows he's not a great guy. But just so you guys know how I feel about Babylon and the last days and it being rebuilt, I've done tremendous studies on this, and I know some of my close friends differ on it. But I believe that if Babylon means Babylon in the Bible, and it can sit as a plot of dirt with nothing on it until the beginning of the 70th week of Daniel. Because the pattern is that Babylon they're going to start to build it, but it will never be built because God's going to destroy it. That's what happened with the original Babylon with the tower. Before they could actually finish this tower that they were working on, God confused the language and judged them, and it's going to be the same thing. So I believe that the Antichrist will make the center capital of the new world. He will announce it is going to be in Babylon. And so when we start seeing all this focus in there, boy, it is not by accident. And of course, we had a friend of Israel that experienced SADS. If you don't know what that is, that's sudden adult death syndrome. And that was, of course, Lindsey Graham. Graham's death leaves Israel with almost no recourse in Congress, former Israel envoy says. And Congress, Senator Lindsey Graham, for whatever you might want to call him, he was a good friend of Israel. And it's interesting that these Zionist Christian leaders are now dying. Charlie Kirk was a supporter of Israel. He was a Christian Zionist. And now Lindsey Graham. And so it's not by accident these things are happening, you guys. And it says, Lindsey Graham marks a fundamental shift in Israel's relationship with Congress, leaving the country more dependent on President Donald Trump at a time when it has fewer lawmakers to turn into Washington. Former Israeli ambassador Michael Oren said in an interview with the Alminer. Graham, one of Israel's most dependable allies in Congress, died Saturday at 71 after what his office described as a brief and sudden illness. And his death prompted tributes from across Israel's political spectrum, with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and several of his leading opponents mourning a senator whose support spanned the country's deep partisan divisions. Now, there's a lot of, questions about this, and there should be. He just came back from Kyiv, Ukraine, and literally talked to President Trump. Hours later, he's dead from this all of a sudden death that we've seen a lot over the last 5 years, and we know what causes them. But we know that they're taking it seriously because of stories like this. FBI assisting police after Senator Lindsey Graham's death, director says. Now, if this was a natural death, why would they do that? It says Fox News reports that the Federal Bureau of Investigation is assisting the Metropolitan Police Department in the investigation into Senator Lindsey Graham's death. Federal law enforcement sources said this is part of the normal process and there is not an indication of foul play at this time, according to Fox News. It really isn't. There have been I think it was when the Supreme Court justice that died, and they didn't go into all of this for him. So why all of a sudden for Lindsey Graham? I know he's a powerful senator, but we get it. FBI Director Kash Patel confirmed that the FBI is assisting local law enforcement. And then there was this story that came out on the Hill, and it says FBI visits Graham's D.C. home. Not only that, the office too. It says FBI personnel visited late Senator Lindsey Graham's home in Washington, D.C. on Monday, less than 48 hours after he died from aortic dissection. At least 6 men and 2 women in FBI gear were at Graham's row house in the Capitol Hill neighborhood of D.C., according to footage shot by Nextstar's Vinay Simlat. At one point, the FBI's entered the home after a man wearing a U.S. Marshals Service jacket exited. Later on, 2 agents wearing yellow and blue FBI windbreakers entered the home while agents went into and out of the home. A man wearing an FBI jacket stood watch outside near a large black container. At one point, another man wearing bureau gear retrieved a manila folder from the container. So they were seen removing stuff from his house. And in case you thought that was normal, even President Trump said this. He said, Trump says FBI is wasting their time investigating Lindsey Graham's death. And this article says nearly 20 FBI and other federal agents were at Graham's home near the Capitol on Monday. FBI Director Kash Patel said his agency is assisting local authorities. So again, we see a lot of this stuff happening. And of course, Israel, friends of Israel dying, Israel in the news, it's constant. And of course, we have this J.D. Vance, of course, is showing that he is part of the woke right and not a friend of Israel. It says in this article, go to hell, J.D. Vance lashes out at Israeli smearing Iran deal. So J.D. Vance needs to work on his messaging because he definitely, shows that there is no love lost between him and Israel. J.D. Vance said members of the Israeli government were trying to derail Iran negotiations and prolong the war, adding, those behind the campaign can go to hell. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance has revealed that elements within the Israeli government are trying to derail negotiations with Iran and manipulate American public opinion to keep the war going on. And speaking during a 3-hour interview on Joe Rogan Experience, I know people say that, the young people today, they can't handle an hour message in church, but they could sit and listen to 3 hours of Joe Rogan pulling his ignorance with his guests that are on there, smoking cigars and cussing all the time. Vance said some figures in Israel are seeking to prolong the conflict with Iran indefinitely rather than achieve a defined strategic objective. There are some people within their system we know beyond a shadow of a doubt who are manipulating and trying to change American public opinion to keep the war on indefinitely, Vance said, not toward any objective, just indefinitely. And we know there are always people part of the military complex. And we know, what about our own country? Our own country wants continued wars, and because it's good for the economy and good for the states that produce the weapons. So, for him to throw Israel out like that and not even, talking about our own country and how much we have been part of the military industrial complex for many years. But, you can tell that what he says is just he doesn't have any love lost for Israel. So just listen to this.
And again, with limitations. Like when the Iranians hit ships, the president has been willing to knock the hell out of the Iranians in response. This is not just a negotiation. It's negotiation, it's military, it's all these things. But I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that there have been people within the Israeli government who are trying to actually shift us away from that policy because they want to continue the military campaign. And by the way, there are people within their government that I love, I have good relationships with. I hope, and I don't think that they're part of this. I mean, the ambassador of Israel to the United States, I think, is actually a really good guy. Obviously, he cares about Israel first. I care about America first. But there are some people within their system we know beyond a shadow of a doubt who are manipulating and trying to change American public opinion to keep the war going on indefinitely. Again, not towards any objective, but just indefinitely.
I could tear that apart easily. We know that that's a lie. Israel has an objective to protect themselves from all of the enemies that are around them. And they're willing to go to whatever length to bring that to keep themselves safe. And so, to say that they're just trying to keep the war on indefinitely, the people in Israel do not want endless war. And a matter of fact, they want peace so bad that they're going to make a deal with the Antichrist to guarantee their peace. And so, to say that it just shows you that J.D. Vance does not care for Israel at all. And then, of course, when asked, this is what the press secretary had to say.
On Iran, the vice president, J.D. Vance, went on this podcast with Joe Rogan yesterday, talked about Israel, in which he said that there are some people within their system that we know beyond a shadow of a doubt who are manipulating and trying to change American public opinion to keep the war going on indefinitely. Does the president agree with that statement?
I think the president would certainly agree that, yes, foreign countries certainly do try to persuade American public opinion. There's no doubt about that. I think it's just a basic fact.
Boy, that's a political answer that you ever seen. Not talking about the people in our own government that want endless wars. So, again, and again, the hate for Israel is continuing to grow. Now, this video, you might hear a cuss word in it, but we're all adults here, and this was a punk rock concert or event, like people getting back together and playing punk rock in New York. And so here's this video. Now, I used to be involved in the punk rock scene in the early 80s when I was a teenager. And I know we were anti-corporation, anti-police, anti-government, but I don't remember us getting that too concerned about Israel. So, but it's the anti-Semitic culture and behavior that is spreading all around the globe, just like the Bible said it would. Now, speaking of ants and moving on to other things that tell us that we're in the last days, is this article that says, Vance skeptical about UFOs, he says on the Joe Rogan podcast. And of course, again, this is, the whole thing about the UFOs, this fourth trench that was out. But, I don't agree with everything J.D. Vance, but, he does tell the truth in a roundabout way in his limited capacity of knowledge. Again, you're going to hear another off-color word in this, but I think you need to hear it to get the full context of what he was saying.
I promise you, I'm going to sit down and spend a couple of weeks trying to figure out what's in these files. I just haven't done it yet.
You said something that I thought was very odd.
Okay.
You said that you thought that they were demons.
Okay, I did say that.
What did you mean by that?
Well, first of all, there not just in Christianity, but in a number of world religions, there are a number of mystical things that happened, extra dimensional, I'm not one of these people who's a hyper rationalist. I think that there are things happening in the world that we're not always seeing. I believe in God. I think that there is a kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Not extra real.
Supernatural.
Supernatural. There are supernatural things that are happening. Okay. So if you look historically at, things that are similar to the alien phenomenon, where, some like strange being, it kind of looks like a human being, but doesn't look like, but it's not human. And it shows a particular interest in human beings. And then it takes the human beings and, does weird experiments on them. I think my argument is that's either bullshit, right? You're either talking to a crazy person, which I don't like. I'm not saying just because I believe in the supernatural doesn't mean I believe in everything supernatural. But if we're talking about an extraterrestrial being that is human-like but not human, that contains effectively infinite powers and is torturing human beings, you can call it an alien if you want, but I think there's a lot of historical precedent to call that a demon.
And I have to agree. I mean, we know that it's not, we look at demonology, that we know they're fallen angels, not the demons, but like I said, he might have only limited information, but at least he's right. It's either a bunch of hooey or if it is supernatural, it's from the spiritual realm. But they've been releasing these trenches of UFO stuff, and I've been downloading them, going through them, hopefully putting something together a little bit more to kind of read through them. They are very entertaining, the reports, but I didn't have a chance to go through it. But News Nation did a report on this. It's about 5 minutes, but it really gives you all the details. I thought it would be good to share it.
Everyone, tonight, 40 more declassified UFO files from the Pentagon to pore over. Now, this fourth release includes information from all the way back in the 1940s. It includes a conference between scientists at Los Alamos National Lab about green fireballs sighted near the facility. The site was the nexus for atomic bomb development, and that raises some serious national security concerns, especially at the time, that have persisted ever since. I mean, look at this video, one of 19 in the brand new batch. It shows what's described as a jellyfish-type UFO over the Atlantic Ocean. This is pretty recent. It's in 2020. Now, according to a debrief, this object was approximately 12 to 15 feet tall. And then there's this video from 2019 with a sensor-equipped surveillance plane over the eastern U.S. catching a small rectangular object moving fast enough to outrun the aircraft's own tracking system. One military member saying the UFO had flight characteristics unlike anything he'd seen in 28 years of service. On top of that, these photos also included in the latest drop taken by astronauts aboard the Columbia Space Shuttle in 1996. Now, these three images from the same mission show an unidentified object in low Earth orbit. For more, I'm now joined by News Nation special correspondent Ross Coulthart, investigative journalist and host of Reality Check. Ross, always good to see you. Welcome back. This is now the fourth batch of files released. In your eyes, how does this one compare to the other three we've discussed? Is there anything that really stuck out to you?
Good evening. Yeah, look, there are a few things in this latest tranche release that I do think are interesting, and one of them is over the Pantex nuclear plant in Amarillo, Texas, which is where America builds its nuclear weapons. So it's one of the most sensitive nuclear sites in America, one of the most highly protected. And it's quite clear, I think it was back in 2015, guards, security personnel, and indeed one local journalist I've spoken to saw a diamond-shaped object, which was about 4 feet high, 2 feet wide at the bottom, no visible means of propulsion, hovering over the plant. No noise, no visible jet plumes, no propellers, nothing to indicate how this object was being flown or directed. But basically it hovered with apparent impunity over what is one of the most sensitive facilities in America, and that raised an extremely serious security concern, and it underlined what we now know for certain, coming from a lot of these UFO sightings that are now being reported by the Pentagon, that there is definitely a link between whatever these objects are and nuclear weapons or nuclear facilities. That's the key issue. Something is taking a very close intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance interest in nuclear weapons and nuclear power.
Should Americans be concerned that an object was spotted near so many nuclear facilities? And again, this is released from our government, the fourth batch of information. Or is there a logical reason behind these mysterious videos and photos?
Well, you know, the funny thing about this is it goes right back 80 years. We now know from the files that these sightings, as you've said, go right back to 1947. The Pentagon's releasing documents that show that this has been a genuine mystery and something that has not been something they've been ignoring. They've been taking it very, very seriously. And right back in 1947, it's quite clear also that the Pentagon's investigators from the US Air Force were anticipating these sightings. They could almost predict when they were going to happen. One of the other ones I think is really interesting is the floating piece of pizza in Earth orbit taken by the STS-80 shuttle mission in 1996. I think it's extremely important to note that the reason why these objects are being reported in this UFO tranche is because it's not been possible to provide an explanation for what they are. This floating triangle in Earth orbit cannot be explained away as a piece of space debris because they've been able to rule out that as an explanation. Whatever it was, we don't know, but it's intriguing because NASA has said in the past it had no evidence of UAPs. Now have a look at what they've suddenly found in the Pentagon's locker.
I want to ask you about another video. If we can bring up the jellyfish-like object. We've seen this video and images like this several times. There it is. What can you tell us about this one specifically, Ross?
Okay, there has been a spoof AI-generated picture which suggested that it was just a balloon, the one that's been most recently posted in the tranche. It's not. This is, again, it looks like what some people have called a floating brain. It's quite intriguing. And what I'm told is, yes, this is one of multiple such objects that is euphemistically referred to as the jellyfish. Nobody has any explanation for what these are. They're anomalous. In some cases, they are showing what we call the 5 observables. They're not conforming to normal prosaic objects. They move anomalously. They operate by stealth. They can hide themselves. And they also appear to be operating intelligently, and they have no visible means of propulsion. These really are enigmas. And what I think I would leave you with is the observation that it's quite clear the Pentagon's been looking at this subject now for the last 80 years. They clearly know a heck of a lot more than they're letting on. And really what we are being given, I think, really is the least sensational videos of what I'm being told they're really sitting on.
Ross, what about all the redacted parts of, well, really all the batches, but the fourth batch especially? You have applauded the president on declassifying a lot of this video, but I'm running out of time. What do you think is going to happen next, or at least needs to happen next?
I think the redactions are probably very reasonably done. We have to protect sources, means and methods. And sometimes there are things that we have to protect. We don't want to show the capabilities of our sensor systems, and I can understand why that's done.
All right. News Nation special correspondent, investigative journalist, and host of the Reality Check, Ross Coulthart. We love having you on this show, Ross. We'll see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
So there you go. I know it's a little bit longer than most of my videos that I play, but again, you know, the amount of information that's being, you know, when you compile, when you look through all of it, there's no doubt that there's something going on there. It's more than just, you know, more than just a coincidence, more than just, you know, things that probably aren't. So we know that if it sounds like fallen angels, if it smells like fallen angels, if it's doing what it's supposed to do, remember, should we be concerned? The thing that demons and the fallen angels want you to do is live in fear. Fear is their goal, and that's what's being ratcheted up, this fear, because if there's enough fear in humanity, we will give away all of our freedoms, gladly march in line with the Antichrist, because we don't want to be afraid. And they know how powerful that is, and so it's being used on this level that I never thought we would see. So just going along with some of our last stories here, we have this one that's pretty interesting. Upstate New York School District will deploy a humanoid robot teacher this fall. It just can't believe some of the way that we're going here. And this is from Upstate New York News. When students return to school this fall in Salamanca City Central School District in Western New York, a new kind of teacher will be ready to greet them. The small rural district located in the Seneca Nation Reservation is set to be one of the first in the country to put a humanoid robot in the classroom. It will not replace the classroom teacher, but is programmed to provide teaching support to both students and educators. At a board meeting last month, the county school district agreed to purchase the robot from Realbotics, a tech company, along with an artificial intelligent teacher's assistant program, allowing students to interact with an avatar of the robot on laptops. The deployment in a working school district represents a landmark moment for both AI and humanoid robotics. The guy from this company said, which is currently building the robot. Salamanca marks the beginning of a new era where humanoid robots and intelligent AI assistants become standard tools in what? STEM education. Now, STEM education, of course, is included in and part of the whole sustainable development goals and the 2030 agenda. So the female robot named Sally will have a lifelike appearance with silicone skin and long brown hair. This guy said in an interview with New York Focus, it will be stationary in a seated position, but have a wide range of upper body movements and facial expressions. Now get this. The products cost the district $57,590 to the contract attached to the school board agenda. Kegel said the price was discounted. The company's website lists the M-Series robot, the model purchased by the district, at a starting price of $95,000. Now, you know that any HR person can buy a robot to replace a person, will do it in a New York second. Ha, that's no joke, but it is a joke. It's New York, right? But think about it. You know, you can't pay a human and it will pay for itself in less than a year. So again, amazing as we see, we're going back to the days of Noah, and we can see it in many different ways. What about this is coming on the scene? Bangladesh unifies QR payments to formalize cash-based economy. All the countries are going digital, and so it shouldn't surprise us. It says Bangladesh has launched an interoperable QR payment system, Bangla QR, aiming to reduce cash dependence and enhance financial inclusion. This system allows customers from various banks and mobile financial services to pay merchants by scanning a single QR code. So again, it's being integrated all over the world. And then what about France? It says France lower house of Parliament adopts final text of landmark right to die law. So again, suicide is being mainstreamed everywhere. France's National Assembly on Wednesday adopted a bill that will create a legal right to assisted dying for adults with incurable illnesses, capping years of intense ethical and political debate. French President Emmanuel Macron, who promised such a law during his re-election campaign, hailed lawmakers' respectful debate on the issue following the vote. And then this one here, again, is insane. They want astronomers horrified by enormous mirror satellite that reflects sunlight back down to Earth at night. And of course, this is crazy. They want to, and what the goal is that they want to use it to power solar panels at nighttime. There's light pollution, and then there's a giant orbital space mirrors that blot out the night sky. On July 9th, the U.S. Federal Communications Commission approved the construction and launch of a mirror satellite that would bend our star's illuminating rays to our will from low Earth orbit. The company behind the ambitious venture, Reflect Orbital, claims that its prototype could be used to reflect sunlight down onto dark patches of the Earth, allowing huge solar panel installations to continue generating electricity at nightfall and provide illumination during emergencies. Oh, you thought that, all of the sustainable development, crazy insanity went away when Trump became president? Think again. This is the FCC. These people, remember, Trump put his own FCC guy in there, and they're still going forward with this crazy climate stuff that it's insane the way that we see these things. And they're talking, it says this is just the beginning of ambitions. Reflect Orbital envisions operating an epic constellation of 50,000 mirrors satellites by 2035, with 1,000 launched by the end of 2028. It's not coming, it is here. And I don't know how much longer God's going to continue with this, but of course, we've been watching the Temple Institute, and the rebuilding of the temple is one of the huge prophetic signs of the last days. And you got to love the Temple Institute because they learned how to make AI videos. So this is pretty fantastic. If you gotta see it. Everything they need for the temple is ready. They don't need any time at all. As soon as they sign that covenant with the Antichrist, they will begin and have it built very quickly, because we know it'll be in operation by the midpoint of the tribulation period. So again, I mean, you have to be, completely blind, living in an area that has no internet, no news or anything, to not see that we're living in the last days. And so how are we supposed to apply that to us? Well, Jesus tells us in Matthew 24, it says, "Who then is a faithful and wise servant whom his master made ruler over his household to give them food in due season? Blessed is that servant whom his master, when he comes, will find so doing. Assuredly, I say to you that he will make him ruler over all his goods. But if that evil servant says in his heart, 'My master is delaying his coming,' and begins to beat his fellow servants and to eat and drink with the drunkards, the master of that servant will come on a day when he is not looking for him, and at an hour that he's not aware of, and will cut him in two and appoint his portion with the hypocrites. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth." Again, the language and the application there is that you need to be ready. You need to be looking, because it is coming. And then in Mark 13, it says, "Watch therefore, for you do not know when the master of the house is coming, in the evening, at midnight, at the crowing of the rooster, or in the morning, lest coming suddenly he find you sleeping. And what I say to you, I say to all, watch." But the reality is the world watching? No, just like the days of Noah, they're just going about their business. The rain's starting to fall, and they're pretending like it's not happening. The church is checked out. Most of humanity and culture is checked out, just like the days of Lot. All the wickedness and all the evil and all the demoralization around them should have made them aware that God's going to come and judge them, that judgment is coming, but they acted like it'll never happen. Oh, we have plenty of time. Jesus doesn't have to come back. You guys have been talking about that for a year. And the warning is that, hey, you need to watch. You need to be ready. So I'm telling you, the last days are here, and you have to be aware of it. You have to see it, and you need to be prepared. And so again, we're going to give a few minutes. If anybody has a question that they want to ask for a few more minutes, Please let the moderator see it and drop it down to the bottom of the chat so I can see it. But just while that's happening, I just want to again encourage anybody who's watching or listening to this that has never placed their faith and trust in Christ. You've been playing, thinking you got plenty of time. I'm telling you, you don't have much more time left. You need to get saved today. You need to place your faith and trust in the finished work of Christ. You do not want to be left behind. You need to follow what it says in these books. You want to follow what this little book says so you don't have to be stuck with the big book while everything's falling apart around you. And time is short. The last days are here. You need to place your faith and trust in Christ. So again, if I see a lot of people have been watching, and I see Lori Sanders said something about the C9 bill, which I haven't done any research yet about that. But of course, that's that Canadian bill. We live in California, and that stuff is coming very quickly here in California. They're going to try to pass all of that stuff. Now, they've tried on a few different things, and we've been blessed with the First Amendment still holding up. But how much longer that's going to happen, I do not know. And so, Pastor Jed, question, Pookie sent you mine. Let me see. I don't see it. Oh, that's right. The other question that was here. Let me see if I can find that. There was a question about, I saw it the other day. Let me get to it. It was from Dora. This is, you have a question too, Lori. Somebody can bring it down to the bottom. That would be good. But Dora sent a question when I was on with Vindog. And it says, I have wondered now when I read that America was founded in God, or I guess in godly principles, and so is Canada. Would it be possible that it is not the God we know because Jesus was mentioned nowhere? Now, again, I did on July 5th, I did a thing about that and showed that the beginning of our nation was founded by real Bible-believing Christians. 98% of the United States, when it was before the Declaration of Independence, was some form of Protestant Christianity. And so I understand that they didn't, some of the charters of some of the different states said Jesus in it, but I know the Declaration of Independence was kind of vague. But it was understood that it was the God of the Bible when they were writing these things, because most people were believers. Now, whether they were saved or not, that's between them and God. There were many different denominations, but this was, of course, the United States was founded on Christian principles. And of course, we talked about, the awakenings that happened, that when relationship and revival becomes religious, God sent these awakenings. And amazing to look at the history of them. And, God was doing that, And so, again, we live at a time right now where, yes, most people don't believe in Jesus. And when they talk about God, it's not the God of the Bible. And, of course, where the Constitution that maybe one time was written and believed upon, the people that interpret it now don't. And so we've gone that far. And we're really at a point in history where only two things are possible: rapture or revival. Or awakening. That's the only two choices that we have. And so that's how I would say that. And then question from Lori. With all the financial deals happening in the Mideast, could this be leading to the wealth of Babylon? Again, I said earlier, I believe so. Yes, all of the financial and everything's moving back to the Middle East. And of course, we know that Satan is a prideful person, and he thinks he's going to win. And because God, took care of Nimrod 1.0. That the Antichrist is Nimrod 2.0. And I think in, everything that the Bible teaches and what we know about Satan himself, he's going to go and think that he can, do it again and win. And that's just what I believe. And so, and then Pookie emailed me, what's this one say? I just answered that one for Lori. What's the other one here? And I just answered that one too. So I got those two from Pookie. Let me go back over here. Wonder if they will spy in churches. Anything else here? Financial deals, the C9 bill. Yeah. Yeah, Dora, most churches don't. Yeah, because the church today is checked out. They like I shared on VinDog, even around our area, these supposedly Christian churches are involved in interfaith dialogue. They want to make peace with one another. They don't want to preach the gospel that offends. They don't want to see people come to the end of themselves and find salvation through Jesus Christ. They just want to get along. And that is, the sentiment and the culture in the church is leading to the book of Revelation, to the false prophet getting the world religions together. That will be judged when the Antichrist demands himself to be worshiped. It's pretty crazy how we see it all coming. Now, I noticed Dora mentioned, and I just want to answer that. It says, I wonder if they will spy in churches. Most definitely. You don't need to go far. A sister church in San Jose, Mike McClure, during COVID was spied on. People that came in raising their hands saying, praise God, hallelujah. And they were plants from the government that were in there to testify against them that they were not following the COVID rules. So that was just a test run. We know what's coming. Yeah, they're going to spy on churches, and they're already doing it. And don't think that they're not. They'll use our phones to spy on us. And how far that goes, I don't know. There might come a time pretty soon when we need to leave our phones out in the car when we come into church. We're going to have, everything's going to go back to the way it was in the early church, where they met in homes and had to meet privately. They had, they were considered a secret society by Rome, because they knew that anything that they say in there could be a death sentence. And so again, we're seeing that all going back. Now, I saw somewhere on here I call him my cousin, but he's also a good friend from my past, Mike McMillan. We knew each other long before our days of Jesus and being saved. And so he's a good brother in the Lord, loves to evangelize. Good to see you, Mike. Glad that you joined us today. And he says, hey, Pastor Jed, what's going down? Ida says, do you think Trump has been given into the globalist? I don't think Trump really realizes that he is being used by the technocrats. He might, in some sense, think so, but maybe he thinks that by taking advantage of them, it might be good for the United States. We know it's good for his pocketbook, because his Bitcoin, his stable coin industry has made him billions of dollars for him and his family and all of the people that are on his staff. So again, sometimes people can be bought off, and whether it's willingly or unwillingly, he doesn't know. The thing that we need to understand is that Bible prophecy doesn't stop just because the administration changes. God and a lot of, we need to be careful that we don't get so caught up into the Luciferian conspiracy that we forget who's ultimately in charge. God is the one in charge. He's the one who puts the people in places. He's the one who's setting up the scenario for the last days, not Lucifer. Lucifer is just a puppet that God is using to bring about the consummation of all things and to glorify God, not Satan. So we need to, I know it's easy for us to get caught up in all of these conspiracies and, and be checked out of our civic duties and our responsibilities, thinking that it's all just Satan and we have no control. That, we have to remember that God is the one in control. And that's what we need to remember. And so, again, good to see you guys. I'm just going to let it go there. We're 5 minutes over. I try to keep it to about an hour. We'll try to do next week. I might go a little longer with Kurt Reed here, and we will do Q&A. So please, again, if you'll have some questions, save it for that. We'll have some conversations about some of the news stories with Kurt, but it's going to be a great time. And again, the Prophecy Conference, there is just great chemistry between me and Kurt and Lee, and it is beautiful, and I know it's spirit led. So we've been just pray that God would show up in a mighty way and just bless us next week, Lord willing. But anyway, again, so that's it for today. And again, like I said, if you've never placed your faith and trust in Christ, you need to do it today. And I know I'm speaking to the choir for most of you, but I don't know where this broadcast will go out to and who might tune in. But you just need to remember that Jesus died on a cross for our sins. And there's only one way for a person to get into heaven, and that is through the only name given among men by which we must be saved, and that is Jesus Christ. Jesus died for our sins, rose again from the dead. We need to put our faith in him, or we will go to hell. And so, or be left behind, which you don't want to do. So again, get saved today. For the rest of you guys, please just continue to look up. The last days are here, and we'll see you next time. See some of you on Monday for our Bible study, some of you on Sunday for our church service. So we just want to wish you guys a great weekend. God bless.